Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
She's excited.
Vandeham
You have to sing it always, please. That's why you know the right is
Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavansam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Vam Sajivam Shadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sadhana Lalita Sri Vishakharnitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasati Gaur Bhakta Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasati Gaur Bhakta Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Sivasati Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavanshan Sri Rupam Chakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Vam Sajivam Shadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sadhana Lalita Sri Vishakhantam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
do that once for the whole thing, or if it comes off like gently.
Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavanshan Shri Rupam Chakrajatam Sahagana Ragnathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Shadaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanitanscha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtatarsha Chishimat His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtatarsha Chishimat His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Dham Ki Mayapur Dham Ki Jagannath Kshetra Dham Ki Ganga Mai Ki Yamuna Mai Ki Tulsi Maharani Ki Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Shri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, thank you so much for coming and joining for the class. Thank you for those listening online also. I would like to ask your blessings before we start, so that hopefully we can stick to the Srila Prabhupada's words and we can all benefit from this knowledge, these words of the pure devotee. So we are reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, text 11 to 12. We have 2 verses today. So, thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So, yes, one more time. It will be chapter 6 and verse 11 to 12. So I will read through it now. Shucho deshe pratishtapya stiramasanamatmanaha nati uchritam nati nicham chailajina kushottaram tatraikagramana kritva yata chitendriya kriyaha upavishyasane yunjyat yogamatma vishuddhaye. 6, 11 till 12. Yeah? Would you like to recite also? Okay, word for word. Shucho, in a sanctified, desha, land, pratishtapya, placing, stiram, firm, asanam, seat, atmana, his own, na, not, ati, to, uchritam, high, na, nor, ati, to, nicham, low, chaila, ajina, of soft cloth and deer skin, kusha, and kusha grass, sorry. Uttaram, covering, tatra, thereupon, eka, agram, with one attention, mana, mind, kritva, making. Oh, I'm so sorry, actually, I think we're on the wrong verse. Sorry, it was supposed to be 13 to 14. It was very similar. So 13 to 14. Okay, one more time. Samam kaya shiro grivam dharayana chalam stira samprekshyana sikagram svam dishaschana valokayan prasyantatma vigata bir brahmachari vratestitaha manasamyam yamachito yukta sitamatpara. Okay, translation. One should hold one's body, neck and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. Purport. The goal of life is to know Krishna, who is situated within the heart of every living being as Paramatma, the four-handed Vishnu form. The yoga process is practiced in order to discover and see this localized form of Vishnu, and not for any other purpose. The localized Vishnu Murti is the plenary representation of Krishna dwelling within one's heart. One who has no program to realize this Vishnu Murti is uselessly engaged in mock yoga practice and is certainly wasting his time. Krishna is the ultimate goal of life, and the Vishnu Murti situated in one's heart is the object of yoga practice. To realize this Vishnu Murti within the heart, one has to observe complete abstinence from sex life. Therefore, one has to leave home and live alone in a secluded place, remaining seated as mentioned above. One cannot enjoy sex life daily at home or elsewhere and attend to a so-called yoga class and thus become a yogi. One has to practice controlling the mind and avoiding all kinds of sense gratification, of which sex life is the chief. In the rules of celibacy written by the great sage Vajnavalkya, it is said, Karmana magna savacha sarvavastat shusarvada sarvata maituna tyago brahmacharyam prachakshate. The vow of brahmacharya is meant to help one completely abstain from sex indulgence in work, words and mind, at all times, under all circumstances and in all places. No one can perform correct yoga practice through sex indulgence. Brahmacharya is taught, therefore, from childhood when one has no knowledge of sex life. Children at the age of 5 are sent to Gurukul, or the place of spiritual master, and the master trains the young boys in the strict discipline of become brahmacharis. Without such practice, no one can make advancement in any yoga, whether it is dhyana, jnana or bhakti. One who, however, follows the rules and regulations of married life, having a sexual relationship only with wife, and that also under regulation, is also called a brahmachari. Such a restrained householder brahmachari may be accepted in a bhakti school, but the jnana and dhyana schools do not even admit householder brahmacharis. They require complete abstinence without compromise. In the bhakti school, a householder brahmachari is allowed controlled sex life because the cult of bhakti yoga is so powerful that one automatically loses sexual attraction, being engaged in the superior service of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita 2:59 it is said, Vishaya vinyavartante niraharasya dehinaha rasa varjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Whereas others are forced to restrain themselves from sense gratification, a devotee of the Lord automatically refrains because of superior taste. Other than the devotee, no one has any information of that superior taste. Vigata B. One cannot be fearless unless one is fully in Krishna consciousness. A conditioned soul is fearful due to his perverted memory, his forgetfulness of his eternal relationship with Krishna. The Bhagavatam says, Bhayam dvitya biniveshata syati shata patesya viparaya yosmriti. Krishna consciousness is the only basis for fearlessness. Therefore, perfect practice is possible for a person who is Krishna conscious. And since the ultimate goal of yoga practice is to see the Lord within, a Krishna conscious person is already the best of all yogis. The principles of the yoga system mentioned herein are different from those of the popular so-called yoga society. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruvei Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganara Gunatam Vitam Tam Sachivam Sadvai Tam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahaganalita Shri Vishakam Vitamshcha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radha Vrindavaneshpuri Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. One more time, thank you for coming. So, yeah, one more time the translation of these two verses. One should hold one's body, neck and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. Yeah, this is a beautiful verse which describes the process of Ashtanga, one of the steps of Ashtanga Yoga. Dhyana, this chapter is called Dhyana Yoga, and Dhyana is actually one of the steps in this Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga means, Ashta means 8 and Anga means fold. So 8-fold yoga, 8 limbs of yoga. And one of those limbs is meditation. And so this process of yoga, of Ashtanga Yoga, is recommended for the purpose of obtaining the vision of seeing Krishna within one's heart. But this process is actually extremely long, and it can be only performed in a specific age, in specific circumstances. It was recommended for Satya Yuga specifically, when people could live 10,000 years, and then they could practice this yoga. So yeah, we'll try to go according to what Srila Prabhupada says here, and we'll try to discuss and analyze what's happening here. Yes, so one should hold one's body, neck and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the top of the nose. Yes, maybe we can actually try. I was thinking actually to make this exercise. We can try to do it. It is said that with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. Yeah, so I would like to ask you, to invite you to make a little experiment. So we can now close your eyes, but not completely. Like it is advised, we should look at the tip of the nose. And this is, Srila Prabhupada explains, this is to prevent us from falling asleep. That's why we should be still a little bit, eyes should be still open, but not completely open, so that the senses are not agitated also. So we try to look at the tip of your nose and try to meditate on Krishna within your heart. Okay. So, would you like to share your experience? How was it? Did you manage to see Krishna within your heart? No. How come?
Remembering Lord Nrsimhadev.
Really? That's good. All right. So, and how did you feel? Did you feel like it was easy? That your mind was very still and steady? I mean, of course, you are already a yogi, so you can easily focus, and it's not so difficult for you to study your mind. How was it for you, Abhi?
You reminded me before I was a devotee.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're saying before you joined Krishna consciousness, you had this experience with trying to meditate on an object or a word, maybe, something. Or also sometimes there are practices where we are observing the sensations in the body. This is called, one of the meditations called Vipassana. And, how was your experience with this kind of meditation?
I liked it in the sense that Hare Krishna. Oh, it's really loud. I liked it in the sense that it relieved a lot of my anxiety and a lot of my stress. I felt very blissed out and calm. At the time, it felt great, but that's because I hadn't experienced the Maha Mantra and mantra meditation. But at the time I felt really overwhelmed with like, oh wow, I didn't realize I could feel so blissful. So actually it was positive at the time, but now I look back and I think, oh, I was only, scratching the surface of,
But there is something more than this.
What you can get.
That's really nice. All right, yes, so definitely, of course, this type of meditation has to be practiced for a very long time. And that's why it is not recommended for the Kali Yuga age where people live maximum 100 years. And this kind of meditation has to be practiced by thousands of years. But what is said here, and then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, the goal of life is to know Krishna, who is situated within the heart of every living being as Paramatma, the four-handed Vishnu form. And the yoga process is practiced in order to discover and see this localized form of Vishnu and not for any other purpose. Yeah, that is an interesting point. Because like it is said here, the goal of life is to know Krishna, who is situated within the heart of every living being as Paramatma, the four-handed Vishnu form. So this is the goal of life. The goal of life is to get to know who is there. And this is so interesting because like these days, modern scientists, they are trying to reach the moon. They're trying to go all the way to the outer space, discovering the moon. But they have actually failed to discover who we really are and who is the person who is closest to us, who is so close to us. He's in our heart. But so little people are endeavoring to understand who is there in my heart and what is the goal of my life. I remember myself before I joined, I was sometimes wondering, and I even remember one conversation with my friend. I was asking, so what do you think, what is the goal of life? And I remember this friend said that, oh, maybe there is no goal, we just carry on, we just do things, and I just accepted at that time because it's too painful to even think about it, that there is no goal. So it's unfortunate that sometimes we just don't think, but this is the most important. Like there is this quote by Mark Twain when he says that. Do you know this quote? Would you like to say?
The microphone should pick up my voice.
Okay.
Yeah. It says that the two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, this is a very important day when we are born, right, in this material world. And then the day when we realize why was I born here. This is so important to understand that. And that's why this is like a second birth, because then we can actually start a real life, meaning take to the right process to understand why was I born here, and how can I get out. For us, we understand we were born because we chose to be independent from Krishna, and now the question is how do we get out of here, from this world. Yes, but and it is said that yoga should not be practiced for any other purpose. And we can see that these days people often practice Ashtanga yoga for. Do they practice? I mean, maybe you have this experience before. If you had any experience before, did you practice Ashtanga yoga? Maybe some yoga asanas, positions. And if you did you think, okay, the goal is to realize God? Probably most people who practice yoga asanas, they just want to have a fit body, or improved digestion, or improved longevity, this kind of materialistic reasons. But the point of yoga, any yoga, is to understand Krishna. The localized Vishnu Murti is the plenary representation of Krishna dwelling within one's heart. One who has no program to realize this Vishnu Murti is uselessly engaged in mock yoga practice and is certainly wasting his time. Krishna is the ultimate goal of life, and the Vishnu Murti situated in one's heart is the object of yoga practice. Yes. And then it is said, to realize this Vishnu Murti within the heart, one has to observe complete abstinence from sex life, remaining seated as mentioned above. So, as you can see that this recommendation of sitting straight and looking at the tip of the nose, it's for us to be able to concentrate. And even in our practice of Bhakti Yoga, we are also, Srila Prabhupada also tells us, sit properly, because this is so important. It's helpful for us to focus. Yeah. And then he says, one has to practice controlling the mind and avoiding all kinds of sense gratification, of which sex life is the chief. In the rules of celibacy written by the great sage Yajnavalkya, it is said, Karma namanasavacha sarva vashtat susarvada sarvatra maihunatyago brahmacharyam prachakshate. The vow of brahmacharya is meant to help one completely abstain from sex indulgence in work, words and mind at all times, under all circumstances and in all places. No one can perform correct yoga practice through sex indulgence. Brahmacharya is taught, therefore, from childhood, when one has no knowledge of sex life. Children at the age of 5 are sent to the Gurukul, or the place of the spiritual master, and the master trains the young boys in the strict discipline of becoming brahmacharis. Without such practice, no one can make advancement in any yoga, whether it be dhyana, jnana or bhakti. One who, however, follows the rules and regulations of married life, having a sexual relationship only with his wife, and that also under regulation, is also called a brahmachari. Such a restrained householder brahmachari may be accepted in the Bhakti school, but the Jnana and Dhyana schools do not even admit householder brahmacharis. So this is something which Srila Prabhupada explains. This is the difference between Bhakti yoga and other yogas like Jnana and Dhyana yogas, where one has to go to the forest and cannot have family and cannot have any sexual connection. But in Bhakti Yoga, it is accepted because, like it is said here, that it is accepted within the householder ashram. They require, because it is said here, in Jnana and Dhyana Yoga, they require complete abstinence without compromise. And it is said here, they require complete abstinence without compromise, because in the Bhakti school, a householder brahmachari is allowed to control sex life, because the cult of Bhakti Yoga is so powerful that one automatically loses sexual attraction being engaged in the superior service of the Lord. Yeah, so this is some interesting point we can try to discuss. So Srila Prabhupada says that in the Bhakti school, a householder brahmachari is allowed to control sex life, because the cult of Bhakti Yoga is so powerful that one automatically loses sexual attraction, being engaged in the superior service of the Lord. So that means what I understand from that is that in Bhakti Yoga, this practice of trying to be focused on Krishna, trying to engage all our activities or our thoughts in Krishna's service, automatically helps us to develop the higher taste, and gradually helps us also to become stronger and to renounce the lower taste. Would you like to share maybe your understanding? What do you understand from this sentence?
I remember this point being made by one of our devotees. I won't mention his name. But I remember doing books with him, and I was living outside. I wasn't living at the temple, and he was also living outside. He was married, and when he would introduce himself, doing door-to-door book distribution, he would explain that he's a monk, and he's come from the temple and so on and so on. And at first I thought that seems to be stretching the truth. That why is he claiming to be a monk? Because I was thinking, but he's not, because he doesn't stay at the temple, and he's married. And I thought that it's not, that's not the right word for the term. Because, like when we think of a monk, we think of someone who's staying in some sort of an ashram or monastery, they're a priest or something like that. And they don't have any connection with the opposite sex. But then he explained to me that, that if one is married and they're only practicing sex life to beget children, then they are considered monks, celibate brahmacharis.
Right.
And I guess I never really thought much about it, but it makes sense reading it here, where Srila Prabhupada is saying this is why it's considered, one is still considered a brahmachari. And also there's that pastime of Krishna that when he's crossing, I think it was the Yamuna, and before he crosses, he doesn't cross the Yamuna, the gopis want to cross the Yamuna. And when they approach the Yamuna, they say to Krishna, it's too strong, we can't cross the Yamuna. And so Krishna says that, on the strength of me being a brahmachari, if you say that to the Yamuna, that she'll part, she'll split. And the gopis were just like, you're making this up. That how can you be a brahmachari? But then they're like, okay, fine. So then they go and they say this, and they see to their amazement that the Yamuna splits. And then they go and see the Muni, and they prepare this huge feast for him. And he's known as a very renounced monk, and so they give him this feast, and he devours it, instantly devours it. And then the gopis are quite surprised, because they're thinking that if he's a renunciate, why is he so engrossed in eating so much prasadam? So they're a little bit confused by this whole episode, and then they go, and when they come to the Yamuna, they think, how are we going to cross it? And so they ask Devasa Muni, what should we do? And he says that if you proclaim that on the strength of Devasa Muni being a renunciate, then the Yamuna will split, it will split apart. And so the gopis do this, and they're so confused now. So when they go to see Krishna and they ask that how is it that Devasa Muni is still a renunciate, because he ate all of our prasadam, and how is it that you're a brahmachari, because we know you're not a brahmachari. And so Krishna explains that Devasa Muni wasn't eating to enjoy the senses, he was doing it because he wanted to satisfy him. That's why he's still considered a renunciate. And he said, for me, I'm considered a brahmachari because I'm not doing it for my pleasure. I'm doing it to please you. That's why I'm still considered slightly different.
Okay. So the main point is to whatever we do, to do it for Krishna's pleasure.
Yeah.
And then it becomes bhakti yoga, and it means but if we're doing it for our own pleasure, then it's not done for, it's against what Krishna wants.
And
Right?
just to add, like when I think about it, that I think it's a very difficult concept for most practitioners to accept. Even of different faiths, that one can practice this path and still be married. Because I think for them, they just think that no, it's not. It's not possible for one to make advancement and be married, or like we've seen with the other paths, like if one is practicing the Sangha yoga quite seriously, I think for them it's not possible to be like you can't be married or you can't have sex with a wife because there's no concept that you're doing it for the pleasure of God. I mean, like for them, if their goal is the Brahma Jyoti, then how do they connect that by them getting children? That it's pleasing to the Brahma Jyoti. There's no relationship at all.
Yeah, there is no person in this conception involved, right? Thank you for sharing. Would you like to share anything, Abhi? Any thoughts on this verse or any reflections or questions?
I think you said kind of what I was going to say, like, as once we get attraction for the Lord and for devotional service, then we automatically lose attraction for these kind of lower desires, at least for our selfish motives, like for sense gratification.